Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling, as you'll see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today in a rather late night episode of Animal Crossing because just been a bit busy, to be honest. Excuse me, my throat is like, ugh. My throat feels like terrible. More recently, I suppose, than usual, but yeah, anyway, we're gonna just be playing an ickle bit of Animal Crossing today. As we do every day now, I think about it, but almost every day. I recorded some more Beacon Pines earlier today. Well, actually, did I remember to start uploading these to the channel? I need to remember to respond to comments. Okay, I did. It's getting insane in Beacon Pines. I have no idea what's going on almost anymore. But anyway, good evening, everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 11:35 p.m. on Tuesday, August 22nd, 2023. Yeah, I don't know what to talk about, you know. Tomorrow I'll be playing some more Baldur's Gate with my friends. I will say, Baldur's Gate is very much starting to get to the point where it's like consuming my mind, like almost. Like, I mean, I talk about this a lot, and I don't think I actually say it much in Animal Crossing videos as much, but I say it in the actual series themselves. But it often happens during puzzle games, you know, things like trying to think of like Babba's You, Snakebird Witness. Mostly it's puzzle games are games which sort of like latch on to my mind and then basically consume all my thoughts. Or the infamous words of Princess Candace from My Little Pony in this day aria. All my thoughts it does consume. So my throat is like dead, I can't sing properly. It's also quite late. I mean, I couldn't really sing properly before, so yeah, I guess my throat like feeling like that doesn't really make much of a difference to that, does it? But yeah, not Divinity. I mean, but Divinity 2, but Baldur's Gate 3 is starting to get to a point where it's consuming my thoughts. Where, I mean, last time we played was on Sunday. We had like an absolute marathon of a session. We started, let me think, I think we must have started around 1:30. We continued to about 5:30, so it's about 4 hours. And then we played from about 7:30 to, I'm going to say like 10ish or so. So it's about 7 hours of playing in a day. Honestly, in my heart, I would have preferred not to have played an absolute binge session. I don't like, I say this a lot, oh no, low battery, I charge afterwards. I don't really like binging things. Like the longest I prefer gaming sessions are supposed to go on nowadays is probably like max like 4 hours maybe. But you know, you make sacrifices to play with friends and that sort of thing because you don't always have time, of course, to properly play with friends. You know, a lot of us are like busy except for on Sundays, and then we have a mini session tomorrow which we'll be doing off in the evening. It's just, you know, as you get older you get like less and less time, so it's like, okay, you know, even though given a preference I would probably prefer to play like an hour an hour each day rather than 7 hours on the weekend, but you know, I don't think everyone's going to be particularly up for that, which is fair enough. And honestly, an hour every single day is pretty difficult to organise, but it's sort of like, if I had the freedom to choose exactly how the timings would work out and it would work out perfectly, then that's what I do. But basically, long and short, I don't super love binging sessions, but the thing is, it's sort of like, I'm not saying I'm addicted, that's definitely going too far, but in a facetious sense, I'm addicted to it, where I'm just like, after we finished like yesterday's session, like I went to bed and the only thing that was on my mind was like Baldur's Gate 3, being like, oh, what am I going to do in my build, what's going on with the story, what's, you know, being like, oh, I wish I was, you know, is this a game I also want to play in single player, because all of these stories are a companion quest, I kind of want to figure out what's going on with them as well, because it's one of my biggest pet peeves, I think, with Divinity and I suppose Baldur's Gate, is the fact that if you play multiplayer, you know, we're playing with 4 people, so we have 4 custom characters, is you can't advance the story of custom characters. I understand the decision behind it, because if you're playing with 4 custom characters, the story should be the story that your characters make rather than focusing on their stories. But, you know, it's also just the way I engage with these games most, is I kind of like the roleplay, the storytelling, the lore, I suppose. Which is why, you know, I'm very tempted to play this game again by myself and just take the exact time I need to slowly process everyone's story, to like look and explore and find all the lore bits and read every single book I come across. I'm not saying that I necessarily will, because it is a long game. Like, we haven't even got, I think, out the first act yet, and we played for, I don't even know how long, actually, about 12 hours. So, you know, it's long going, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I think it's great. I'm having a lot of fun with it, but I don't know. It's weird about the sort of games which end up consuming my mind, because if you don't know, the series I do, I tend to have 3 series: a story-based series, a puzzle-based series, and a mechanical-based series. Right now, of course, it's Beacons, Pines, and Stories. It's what's in my puzzle slot? Railbound in the puzzle slot, and Tunic in the mechanics slot. And I find that mechanics games don't tend to all consume my mind. They tend to be very engrossing, I think, when I play them, but when I stop playing them, it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind until I pick them up again and when I get engrossed again. They're very sort of much like live in the moment. Well, puzzle games are sort of like live in the past, after I play a level, no, maybe like live in the future is probably a better way to say it, because after I start a level, it's like I'm so engrossed in it, I have to keep continuously turning over thoughts in my mind, being like, how am I going to solve this? Like, what is the solution to this puzzle? I no joke, with things like Snakebird and Bad Boys U, I didn't properly recreate the puzzle in my mind. I don't have like a perfect eidetic memory or whatever it's called. But I have a pretty good memory, so I can remember like the general gist of things. So I turn over like potential solutions in my mind, which is a lot of the times, if you watch any of these series, you'll see me start like sessions of recordings of being like, I thought about this level in off camera, and then this is the thing I want to try out. Because I'm like constantly processing it sort of in my mind, just sort of like passively. It's very weird, I suppose, to a certain extent. And not like a completely passively. I guess I do have to actively think about it. I'm not like a computer or robot, I say. But it's the sort of thing where I'm just like, I think it does consume my mind. And with story games, I feel like it's not so much in the moment where it's all consuming. I'm sort of like there for the ride. It's just like after the story happens, then that's kind of like when it all consumes my mind, where I'm just like, oh man, why did it happen like this? Why can I see these signs coming? And like, what do I think about these characters, analysing these characters? What would I do differently in the story if I wanted to do it more to my taste necessarily, things like that. I think Amori's like a perfect example of it, where, well, maybe it's not a perfect example, because towards the end of Amori, I actually kind of binged it, because I was just like, in the moment, I was like, I have to find out what's happening. But Amori is very much a game where after I played it, it was something which sat in my brain for like the next like 2 months or something, because it was just so engrossing. I'm not going to spoil Amori here, obviously, but I think similar things happen with like Undertale, with I'm trying to think what else. Like Doki Doki Literature Club was actually quite a crazy one as well, in retrospect. So it's kind of interesting to think about how, like, puzzle games engross my mind in the past, and then mechanical games engross them in the present, and then like story games engross them in the future. No, sorry, flip that. Puzzle games are the future, engross my mind in the future. Mechanical games in the present, and then story games in the past, I suppose, depending on your reference frame, but if you're looking from a story's perspective or from my perspective. But it's not too often I feel like things come along and completely consume all my thoughts. That's why I was like, Bad Boys U definitely is one of them. Snakebird, some levels did. I think it basically towards the end of the main levels of Snakebird, it certainly did. What other things sort of engrossed me completely? Like Amori, obviously, after I played it, engrossed me completely. Spiritfarer, I mean, interestingly, I think the first time I played through Spiritfarer, it didn't engross me completely after I played it. I think it was when I did with DLC that it sort of like sunk in a bit more, the sort of the feelings of like death and mortality and the loss of loved ones, etc., etc. Kind of like, it felt like that's when it started to click a bit more the second time through, where I was just like, whoa, like this is obviously way more serious than I'm giving it credit for, and now it's starting to be like, this is emotionally impactful, I suppose, in a sense. Which might be weird to say, but I think that's kind of true. I'm trying to think of what other games I played which have completely engrossed me. I think Undertale is definitely one of them. That's kind of like a past, present, and future. Night in the Woods, actually, that's a very good one as well. That was one I absolutely loved playing. I don't know, I need to like look at my playlist of things which have been thought consuming, because it is kind of rare. Because that doesn't mean I don't enjoy the games. I very much enjoy the games. I think I've basically enjoyed every game I played, but some of them are ones which sit in your mind, far past you've finished recording playing them, which it tempts me, like a siren song, to binge the game, which I'm very comfortable with the way, the schedule I have, I suppose, right now, with how I play games. I play like an hour, no, more like about an hour of games each day. I record 2 episodes, I record an Animal Crossing episode, it's about an hour. That's not too much, time spent playing games, and that's, kind of what I like doing. It feels like a better balance of things, but, yeah, I'm just trying to think of games which really have consumed my mind. All my faults he does consume. Let me think, do I have 50 playlists? Yeah, I have 44 playlists, so 44 series. Just think about it a little bit. Lackawan, I think, had a lasting effect, like, straight after the ending, but I don't think it was all-consuming. I wouldn't put it on all-consuming. Witness, yeah, I think Witness is probably the first one, which was quite no, Return of the Obra Dinn was definitely more all-consuming. Witness, I definitely remember having, like, theories and thoughts and things, but it wasn't things I was actively turning over in my mind, I think, as much. Or maybe I was. And it has been a long time since I played a Witness, but Obra Dinn, I certainly remember, especially towards the end, just being like, this doesn't make sense, and it was the only thing I could think about, being like, how does this make sense? How can I prove it? X, Y, Z. What else, like, really turned over in my mind, I suppose? I think it really is. Obra Dinn, Barbara's You, Omori. But those are the really, like, hard-hitting ones, which super all consume my mind. Basically, the long and short of it is I simultaneously want to play more Baldur's Gate 3, but also, I have a sense of self-restraint where I'm just like, I can't just binge playing Baldur's Gate 3. Like, part of me wants to, like, in parallel, start up, like, a solo campaign where I can just play at my own pace. Not to say I don't like playing with my friends. I love playing with my friends, and I definitely would prefer playing with my friends than playing solo. But I guess it's a sort of sense of, like, there are things I want to engage with, things which multiplayer unfortunately doesn't allow happen, namely the companion quests and things like that. And obviously there's things you miss, because while you're all playing 4 things simultaneously, you're all 4 of you are interacting with different parts at the same time, so sometimes people make a progression which you aren't privy to because you were too busy doing something else, which is fine. That's just how things work, and I think it is better in that sense, because now you had to have feedback of information. And there's a lot of things to cover, so it's kind of, you cover more ground, I suppose, as a group that way. So it's kind of like, I kind of simultaneously want a parallel game going, but it's like, no, I don't want to spoil myself. I want everything, in this multiplayer campaign I'm doing with my friends from start to finish, and then I'll think about it. I should really play through, like, maybe, like, Divinity or something again at some point. I really like Divinity, but being able to play through at my own pace is also something which is particularly enticing. But I don't know. I feel like the separation of the classes in Baldur's Gate 3 has more appeal to me than Divinity's, which is sort of like, you don't really, at least from the way I played it, I feel like I sort of, like, peaked mechanically with my enjoyment of it. Like, I don't think any other build I would do in Divinity would give me as much enjoyment as a way as how I played it in Divinity Original Sin 2, which I've talked about before. But basically, I just got I got every single buff in the game, and would just spend like the first, before battles really commenced, there's dialogue most of the time, and in dialogue, buff durations don't count down if your character's in dialogue. So it would basically be all of the 3 other characters would be listening into the dialogue, and I would cast all my buffs on all of them at the start of battle, and then they would just be like absolute monsters at the start of battle. It really was fun. That's basically the peak. That's basically my sort of, like, gaming fantasy, is this ridiculous level of enablement, I suppose. Yeah, I don't really know where I was going with this. I know, thought consuming. Probably happened with movies as well. I'm trying to think of a movie which I've seen which basically consumed all my thoughts. It's really hard to say off the top of my head. Like, a movie like that? Almost certainly it's probably some sort of animation. Like, I think Encanto was one. Well, okay, Encanto sort of consumed my thoughts, but for a different reason. It wasn't so much a plot of a movie itself. I thought it was an interesting enough premise, but it wasn't. The thing which consumed me was, like, 1, the music, and 2, the designs, the animation in Encanto was fantastic. I loved the designs of the characters. So much so, I think I'd spent 2 Animal Crossing episodes just talking about the designs of the characters in Encanto. I was just like, wow, look at all the subtle, like, language and art detail they put in here to communicate the personalities and designs and thematics of these characters. Yeah, I can't really think of a movie which was all-consuming. I would have thought Everything Everywhere All at Once would be, And it's Everything Everywhere All at Once is definitely, I think, up there with like movies I would watch again. Like, there's a certain category of movies to me which I'm like, these aren't things which would consume my mind, but these are movies I'd be more than happy to watch multiple times. So Everything Everywhere All at Once is one of them, Bullet Train is another one of them, and I think Barbie is up there as another one of them. It's just being movies which have like infinite rewatchability for me personally. Not for everyone, mind you. Because I don't really think many animation movies go in there, to be honest. Like, would I watch Encanto again? I'd be like, I could, but I'd rather just like listen to the music, the soundtrack again. I feel like that sort of is the thing which latch onto me. And like, you'd be like, do you want to watch like Frozen again? Nah, just like listen to Let It Go again, maybe. Would you watch like Zootopia again? I mean, Zootopia, I kind of liked. You know, obviously anthropomorphic animals are great fun, and I think the world building which stems from them is actually kind of some of the more interesting parts of it, which I think is probably why I kind of latch onto that sort of fantastical elements of it so much more than certain other things. But would it be a movie I'd watch again? Maybe. Like, I wouldn't hate it, but it's not up there with like Barbie, Everything Everywhere All at Once, EO. We can't get you medicine, unfortunately. And Barbie. Did I say Barbie first time? Bullet Train. There we go. But I don't know. They feel like they've fallen into a different category. Thought consuming. Okay, what other things are sort of like thought consuming in mind? It tends to be stories, I think, which are most thought consuming, which is weird that movies don't do it as much. I've been thinking much more about Project Sakai, which is weird because I haven't actually read all the stories in Project Sakai, but it's some things like I've read summaries of. I really need at some point to just like read all the stories which happen. You might be able to watch Project Sakai. It's basically this mobile gacha giving game, the rhythm game, featuring Hatsune Miku. But the story is actually like, and the characters are actually like surprisingly good, like well written, and well planned out and well thought about in the game, which is like wow, you know, and it's weird, I suppose, to see gacha games actually be kind of high quality nowadays, because I'm just like, you know, still don't agree with the monetary practice, but again, like the stories are like the only way I can get this model of gameplay and also the stories I like at the same time. Anyway, I'm gonna round this episode up here, I think, but yeah, thought consuming, I don't know. All consuming, mind consuming, maybe that's the best way to put it, because then that sort of like double dips into Baldur's Gate 3, you know, like mind flaring. Anyway, if you haven't been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares greatly appreciated. Twitter, Discord down below. Hope to see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye bye for now.